I was born in 1952, 4 years after the Nakba, to a Christian family and in Jerusalem, right? I grew up in Jerusalem until the age of 27. I immigrated to the United States in 1977. So I was 27 when I left Palestine to come to the US. Siblings were already here, 3 of them, and I was the last of the siblings to come here. And then my parents followed 2 years after because things were getting really worse, very bad, progressively worse in Palestine. The rest of Palestine was occupied in 1967. Israel was created in 48, but part of Palestine remained with Jordan, and that was taken over in 1967.
After the Six-Day War.
Yes, so we came under Israeli military rule in 1967, and opportunities were terrible. I mean, unemployment opportunity. I had a degree in political science. What's the Palestinian going to be doing with a degree in political science in under Israeli rule? So I became an English teacher, but I wanted to finish my education, to do graduate studies in economics, and actually I was planning to go back and teach at a university in Palestine, but things kept getting worse, and so I decided to stay here. I was arrested in 1976 and beaten up, and I was under administrative detention.
This is in Israel, you mean?
Yes, Israel. I was arrested and thrown in an Israeli prison.
Even though you're an American citizen?
No, I wasn't an American citizen back then. I immigrated in 78, 2 years after my arrest. I was under admin detention where you don't even know what the charges against you are. You're just told you're a threat to the security of the state, and that's it. It was a system inherited from the British.
What was the interrogation tactics?
The interrogation was, I was beaten up and asked to confess to membership in one terrorist organization after another, all false charges.
Was this over a period of days, or?
The interrogation took place over a period of a month.
And what were the conditions in the jail, the cell that you were in?
It was terrible. The condition in the cell were not too bad. I had a room with lighting.
Did you have proper clothes?
Yes, I did.
Right.
And food wasn't terrible actually, but there were beatings.
Every day?
Not every day. At first, there were very frequent beatings for the first 2 weeks.
What did they beat you with?
So the first session with beatings was the worst. It was one of the worst. There was an electric cable doubled up, and they were beating me on the head even, and on my back and everywhere.
With reasonable amount of force put into it?
Well, I had bumps on my head, and there were, of course, a lot of slapping, and I ended up with a perforated eardrum. Yeah. There was another session where I was my hair was already long, after, and I remember the interrogator, I remember his code name, Abu Jamil. They go by Arabic names. He would catch me by the hair and drag me across the whole room, and then lots of slapping. And then I was asked to stand on one leg with a chair almost as heavy as this above my head. And anytime I put my foot down, I would be beaten with those electric cables on my back. I had, signs of these lashes on my back for quite some time. And that was probably the time I got a perforated eardrum.
Right.
My right ear. Actually, the real reason, now, they never told me what my arrest was for, But the real reason was that I was starting a relationship with Israeli peace activists who were opposed to the occupation, a group called Matzpen, a far left group. And I was helping them with their publication, translating from Hebrew, really translating from Hebrew to English to Arabic. And they had a publication in Hebrew and in Arabic. And so I was helping them with that.
You're a threat to the state.
Yeah, but that never came up during the interrogation. It really was there was really intimidation of people in different kind of positions in society, because there was an uprising, because there was a lot of land confiscation at the time in 1976, and there was no organized leadership. So it was largely spontaneous. Well, how do you control the spontaneous uprising? By hitting the journalists, by hitting the teachers, by hitting the student unions, by hitting, so you kind of made example of individuals, putting them on this administrative detention, torturing them, intimidating them. So, behind all of this is the continuing Nakba that I mentioned, the continuing catastrophe, meaning the land confiscation, the expansion of settlements, the dispossession of Palestinians, the, arrests, complete arrests for any kind of, resistance, no matter how peaceful. I mean, Palestinian nonviolent resistance has been there all along. You never hear about it in the Western media. The labor unions, the doctors' unions, all the professional organizations, and the schools, and etc. But there was no tolerance whatsoever for any kind of,
dialogue or genuine negotiation.
Right.
No.
I grew up in Jerusalem, but three of my grandparents are from Gaza, Palestinian Christians from Gaza. And my father left Gaza when he was 14 years old. They worshipped at the Church of St. Porphyrius, which is considered the third oldest church in the world. A relative of mine by the name of Ilham Farah was one of the tiny Palestinian community that has remained in Gaza. And that entire community has, almost all of them, only about 1,000 people, have been sheltering in 3 churches, but especially in the 2 largest churches, the Church of St. Porphyrius and the Church of the Holy Family. Porphyrius is Orthodox, Holy Family is Catholic. So she happened to be sheltering at St. Porphyrius. That has a compound. So not just the church building, but also, associated buildings, administrative.
They're all sleeping in these churches, are they?
Yes.
Eating there? And
absolutely, everything.
It's the only place they could go that was safe.
Right. Safe. Because St. Porphyrius, the compound, was bombed very early on, and 18 Palestinian Christians were killed in that bombing. The church was damaged, but remained mostly intact. Ilham, 84-year-old woman, Ilham Farah, a music teacher who taught many generations of Gazans, several generations of Gazans music, very well known and beloved in the community. She was spooked, so she moved to the Church of the Holy Family, the Catholic Church. After about a month, she wanted a change of clothes and to check on her house. So she wanted to go to her house. Everybody says, don't do it, it's dangerous. She didn't listen. While she was walking the last, small distance to her house, indeed, an Israeli sniper shot her in the leg.
She's obviously a woman.
84-year-old woman. And when a sniper shoots you, they know who they're shooting. And she's petite, very coquette woman, loves pinks, and clearly a
Stood out.
woman. Yeah. And So she was on her cell phone trying to get help, but anybody who tried to come and get her was shot at. So she bled and bled. And we later learned that an Israeli tank went over her the next morning. We don't know whether she was still alive or not. So that's the story of Ilham Farah, 84-year-old woman. The killing from bombs and snipers, etc., is not the whole story. And here's a case in point. Another relative of mine, sheltering in the Church of the Holy Family, she died in the arms of her son, a doctor, who could not save her. He could have easily saved her with the medicine that was prescribed to her. But because of the siege, Israeli leaders have very, very explicitly articulated their objectives. No medicine, no fuel, no food, and no water. These were the words of Gallant,